welcome back to another Friday Reads. Today's video is going to be my summer TBR. I mentioned in my last Friday Reads video, my intro, that I was going to do seasonal TBR and wrap-ups because I don't read at the same pace as other booktubers seem to, and I just thought, including 2 or 3 books each month would be a little annoying. So this is going to be my summer TBR, and I'm doing it by month. I know it's already past mid-July, but I'm going to kind of consider like June, July, August as my summer. So this is my TBR until September, if that makes sense. We'll see how this goes. This is overly ambitious. There's no way I'm going to finish all of these books, but these are kind of my very hopeful list of books I want to read in the coming months. Some of them will roll over to my fall TBR if they don't get read. Some of them maybe won't, but I'm going to quickly jump in. First on my list and what I'm currently reading is Scythe by Neal Shusterman. A lot of these books did come from my library, if you see the stickers on them and stuff. I am an avid believer of using your library if you have one, and it's not only saves you money, but not very often do I reread books. If I really love it and give something a 5-star, I may pick it up, or if it's a really anticipated book for me, I might just pick it up and not get it from the library, that sort of thing, but most of these books are from my library. Anyways, Scythe, I'm sure you know what it's about, but if you don't, it's kind of a dystopian / utopia type of book. The human race is free of mortality, I guess. Everyone is pretty much immortal. You can turn back time once you feel you're getting too old, and you can pick an age that you want to continue living from. There's no disease. There's no world hunger. Everyone is equal. So the only way to control the human populations is through scythes, which are allowed to kill, basically. They are the only self-governed body. Everyone else is controlled by Thunderhead, which evolved out of the cloud, and they discovered that he was uncorruptible, I guess. So it deleted all need for government, and without getting too much into it, you're following mostly two characters that are apprentices to another scythe, and I'm not too far into it, so I'll talk about this more in my summer wrap-up, but so far I am really enjoying this. And then the rest of them are in no particular order. I'm not going to necessarily read them in this order, but I did pick up Cinder by Marissa Meyer. I've been really intrigued into sci-fi, I guess. I have not read very much sci-fi ever before, but I do like watching sci-fi inspired TV shows and movies, so I figured why not try some sci-fi books as well. This is kind of a retelling of Cinderella, but the sci-fi version, so if you can kind of tell from the cover, she is kind of like a robot. I actually don't know too much about it. I really don't like going into my books knowing too much, because then I find that they are way too predictable. This is a series though, and I have heard that this is not the best book, but that the series continues to get better. So I am excited to read this, and again, I picked this up from my library as well. This is Big Little Lies by Leanne Moriarty. I don't know if I said that right. I know this is either a TV show or a movie or something. I had never even heard of that show or movie, clearly. HBO limited series starring Reese Witherspoon, Nicole Kidman, Shailene Woodley. It has people that I like. Oh, now I can see on here the faces. Okay, well, after I read this, maybe I will watch the show or movie or whatever, but this I thought would be a good summer read. At first I thought it was going to be more like chick lit or contemporary, but apparently it's more of a mystery thriller, which I'm actually super intrigued by since I don't read a lot of them. And I'm hoping this isn't like super dark, like Stephen King full-on thriller. Like I refuse to read it or really any of Stephen King's novels, I think, because I'm a big scaredy cat. But I'm hoping that I like this one. I don't know. It says, Stephen King reviewed it, and he has a quote on here. It says, a hell of a good book, funny and scary. So, I'm not sure. I might be a little scared. And I actually don't know like a lot about the actual premise, which in terms of thrillers and stuff, you really don't want to go in knowing too much, because then it is especially predictable. Next on my list, I have The Unexpected Everything by Morgan Matson, the author of Since You've Been Gone, which I have read. I'll get into that in a minute. This is going to be a great summer read. I really enjoyed Morgan Matson's other book that I have read. Super light, fluffy YA contemporary, which I don't like generally. I really like fantasy, but in the summer you're just in the mood to get through some books and have like a lighthearted, fun time. Again, I don't know too much about it, but I do know that this girl, the character, becomes a dog walker in the summertime because something happens. Her dad's a politician and there's some scandal, that sort of stuff. So, seems very interesting to me. Sorry if I'm flying through these, but my list is quite extensive. Next I have We Were Liars by E. Lockhart. It seems like everyone has read this book, and I honestly don't know that much about it. The back says, we are Sinclairs, no one is needy, no one is wrong. We live, at least in the summertime, on a private island on the coast of Massachusetts. Perhaps that is all you need to know, except that some of us are liars. It says, thrilling, beautiful, and blisteringly smart by John Green. So I'm excited to read this. Again, this looked like a good summer book, and it's not that long. It only has 200 and some pages, so I feel like I could fly through this in a day or two, which I should probably pick that up next because I've read a few bigger books and I need something easy to digest. Reaching over. I also have A Darker Shade of Magic by V.E. Schwab. For the lovers of fantasy, everyone seems to love it. This is a book that I kind of foresee myself purchasing for my own collection. I don't know too much about it. Like always, people have compared this to Harry Potter, but this is adult fantasy. Harry Potter is like middle grade YA fantasy. All I know is there are 4 different parallel Londons. I don't know, what goes into each one, but there is magic. It's set in London. I guess that's all it takes for things to be compared to Harry Potter, but it seems to be a favorite, so I'm excited to read that one as well. I picked up another book by Leanne Moriarty without even knowing if I'd like the other one, and this is The Husband's Secret. And again, it's supposed to be kind of a thriller mystery. The back says, my darling Cecilia, if you're reading this, then I've died. I'm guessing that her husband has died since it's called The Husband's Secret. I'm, again, not really sure. This is probably not helpful, but I find TBRs not to be overly helpful, and that wrap-ups really are. So I don't know if I'm going to get to this. This might be something I reach for in the fall. Again, all the ones I've talked about so far are from my library, but I can easily renew things or just pick them up another time. This is another one of those books that I was super pumped about when I first heard about it, and it's been kind of like always in the back of my mind that I should read The Martian by Andy Weir. I have not seen the movie, even though I want to, but I'm one of those people that will hold out. If I'm interested in reading the book anyways, I will refuse to watch the movie until I read the book. So that is what happened with this. But now that I have it in my possession from my library, I have 10 books checked out right now, which is kind of ridiculous. I don't think I'm going to get to this in time, so I will be, borrowing it again. Or I think one of my friends actually has this book, so I might just grab it from her to read at some point. This might be something I pick up in the fall. I don't know. The hype has kind of worn off for me, but I know it's still a book that is really great and that I should read at some point. But the urgency just isn't there like there is with some of those other books. This is Poison Study by Maria V. Schneider. Reagan from Peruse Project. I am so sorry, I forget her channel name. I think it's Peruse Project. I could be totally wrong. Her name is Reagan and she makes booktube videos. She recommended this in her summer reads recommendations, I believe, and I have heard her talk about it in the past before as well. Yelena chooses to become a food taster. So she'll eat the best meals, have rooms in the palace, and also risk assassination by anyone trying to kill the commander of Ixia. I don't know. Sounds exciting. This is a series. This is another one of those books that I just kind of picked up because it was available and I had heard people talk about it, but I'm not I'm not rushing to read this. This is Since You've Been Gone by Morgan Matson. I just finished this. This I devoured. I absolutely loved it. It was just what I needed coming out of Game of Thrones. Super lighthearted, easy to read. This is a YA contemporary. I will again talk about this more in my wrap up, but you're following a young girl. It's the summertime and her best friend goes missing, but in the mail she receives a summer bucket list of sorts, which is on the back here. It has things like kiss a stranger, go skinny dipping, steal something. They're all things that she is either terrified of or just would push her out of her comfort zone. Things that she wouldn't normally do. It was really, really lovely and I would recommend this. Again, I'll have my Goodreads linked down below. I did review that. I think I gave it 4 stars. I only have 4 more physical books to show you, and these are actually all mine. So first up I have The Carrie Diaries by Candace Bushnell. I actually have never watched Sex and the City. Who am I? I'm a millennial that hasn't watched Sex and the City. But a friend of mine gave this to me, and I have heard that people who are avid lovers of Sex and the City, the TV show, didn't actually enjoy this too much. So I'm wondering if I read this first and then watch the TV show, if I will enjoy it more. But this just seemed like a good book to pick up in the summertime. This is Guardian of the Gate. This is book 2 in the Prophecy of the Sisters trilogy by Michelle Zink. I have the first one as well, which is called Prophecy of the Sisters. This is a YA fantasy following twins. One is the Guardian of the Gate and the other one is, so they're like a good and a bad twin. And depending on who is born first, one is one and one is the other, but these twins were born via C-section because there were major complications. So, you know, things get complicated. It's definitely a YA fantasy, and I didn't love the first one, but since I already have the second one here, I figured I should read it. Sometimes series get better as they go on, so I'm hoping that's the case. And there is a third one called Circle of Fire, so I don't know. If I don't love this one, I definitely won't continue the series to finish them. These are one of the type of books that I shouldn't give too much information because it will ruin it. Next up is Harry Potter and the Cursed Child. I've had this book for so long and I've never read it. It's in a play style. I feel like this isn't people's favorite, which I think that's why I haven't read it. I love Harry Potter. I feel like if you love fantasy, you have to like Harry Potter. It's a requirement. Now, I don't think this is going to ruin Harry Potter for me, but I want to love it, and kind of knowing that I won't, or thinking that I won't, is stopping me from reading this, but I really just need to do it this year. I just need to. Lastly, for physical books, I have a few others that I'll just quickly chat about that I don't have yet. I'm waiting for them from my library. This is A Dance with Dragons from George Martin. This is the 5th book in the Game of Thrones series. That's not even what the series is called. A Song of Ice and Fire series. Game of Thrones. This, I just need to finish it, knowing that the 6th book is not coming out this year, maybe not even next year, who knows. I'm not, super pumped to read this, and it took me 6 months to read the 4th book in the series, and these are heavy, thick books. They're over 1,000 pages. It took me 6 months to read the last one. I mean, reading other things throughout, of course, because I find Game of Thrones to be very heavy. They weigh on my mind sometimes. There's a lot going on, a lot to wrap your head around. And the 4th and 5th book are divided up by characters or like region kind of, and not chronologically. So starting off this book, you already know how not how the story ends, but like how this time frame ends for the other half of the characters. So I don't know how that's going to play out. I don't know how I'm going to like it. I talked about in my last video how with A Feast for Crows, I believe that was the last one. Yeah, A Feast for Crows. I found myself missing the other characters. Then when you get to the end, he explains why that they're in this book. So I feel like I'm going to feel the same way, even though I already know what happens to the other characters. While I'm reading this, I'm going to miss them because some of my favorite characters were in the last book. So I don't know. I don't think I'm going to get to this summer, if I'm honest, with only a month and a half left of like my summer. We're going to the end of August, especially with all these other books, but it's on my list. It will probably roll over to the fall. I do want to finish what I have of the series this year. I'm hoping to, and I want to get watching the show. I don't know how closely it follows the books, but I've never watched the show either. There are a few other books that I have waiting for me at my library. I do have Something Borrowed by Emily Giffin on my list to read from my library. I don't really know why. I was just in the mood for chick lit, and I'm planning my wedding, so I thought it would be a good fit. I'm also reading Up to I Do by Samantha March. I guess I should have included that in here, but I have it on my phone as an ebook. So I am reading that as well. If there's any time in my life that I'm going to want to read a chick lit, planning your wedding, young adult, they are young adults, not that the books are young adults, type of story, it would be now. You know what I mean? So I do have Something Borrowed by Emily Giffin that is waiting for me. Others that I have waiting for me is Save the Date by Morgan Matson. This is her newest novel. It was published in 2018, and the premise of the story, I believe, is that the character you're following, I don't even know her name, all I can see is the picture of the cover. Her sister is getting married, and she's staying to help plan the wedding through the summer, I believe, and then there's boy drama, all that sort of fun stuff happens. So that's a book that I do want to read this summer as well before my wedding. It might be in September if I don't get to it in time, but that is also on my summer TBR. And lastly, I have To All the Boys I've Loved Before by Jenny Han. It seems like everyone loves this book as well. It's blurry when I blow it up this big, but that's what the cover looks like. This is about a girl who falls in love with many boys. I don't know why. Maybe it's just her teenage hormones, but it seems like she falls in love with a lot of boys. And when she's ready to move on, she writes that boy a letter, and then she stores them. And of course, someone takes it and mails it to all the boys, which why would she even put the boys' addresses on envelopes? I'm not sure. Maybe the person that mails them out finds the boys' addresses. I don't know. But everyone seems to love it. I believe it is a series or maybe a trilogy. I'm not 100% sure, but that's another book that is really, light and fluffy and good for summer. And since I'm only in the mood for a few months of the year, I figure I better, get through all of these. So I think I'm going to get those ones from my library and read them before, things like Game of Thrones, before things like The Martian and Poison Study, because I'm into fantasy all year round, but I'm only into contemporary for a limited time, so I think I should just, consume as many books of that genre as possible. So that is my overly ambitious TBR. There is no way I'm reading all of these books, even the ones that I'm really hopeful to read. I don't believe I'm going to get to them in time. My reading goal for the whole year is 12. I'm currently at 5 finished, and my TBR is like almost 20 books. So that's pretty ridiculous. I think there's like 17 or 18 books on my TBR, but I'm currently reading Scythe. I have already read Since You've Been Gone, so if you think I should pick up something like next, definitely let me know in the comment section below. I know that my last Friday reads didn't do all that well, and nobody's probably listening to me ramble on at this point either, but these are videos that I'm really passionate about right now. Maybe they won't last forever, but right now I really do want to include books on my channel, and I would love it if you guys would support me through that. And if you like reading, it's something that we can talk about in the comments, of course, or across other social media. This video is way too long, so I'm going to sign off. Let me know what you plan on reading this summer, what I should get to next. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye!